Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Smitty's Gunsmithing. Today we're going to be taking a look at a GForce Arms GF2P 12 gauge pump action shotgun. This is it's manufactured in Turkey and it's imported by GForce Arms in Reno, Nevada. This shotgun reportedly has a failure to fire rate of about 50%. 50% of the rounds will go off, 50% of them won't. This gun is clear. Immediately upon looking at this gun and messing with it a little bit, and I apologize, I'm having some problems with the lighting. I'm trying to work around my camera as best I can with the lighting I've got. One of my lamps killed out on me on the left side, so I'm having to wait on another one to come in. So I'm going to try to show you this the best I can. This shotgun is locked up, full lock up, okay? The bolt's locked, it's not moving with the pump. But notice how much movement there is of the forend. That is making the action bar, or whatever it's called in this particular shotgun, back here at the back. I'm going to try to hold this flashlight with my neck. Okay, hopefully you can see that. You see that action bar moving back? Or it's not the action bar. I don't know what it's called in this shotgun, but you can see that moving back. And it's moving back behind the rear face of the bolt. So if you're not holding the pump all the way forward when you shoot this gun, if you got that back any and you drop the hammer hits that rear of that bar right there and does not fall on the firing pin. I'm hoping I'm catching all this on camera. It's kind of hard to hold a flashlight in your neck, hold a shotgun, and look over here at the right to the screen to see if everything's in screen or not. But that's one problem. And see, if you hold it forward, it'll actually hit the firing pin, but it's hitting the firing pin rather weakly. Let's see if I can do this again. Okay, you can see, hopefully right down in there, it hits. This is a rather weak hit. Which brings me to problem number 2 that I found, and I'll show you. So I'm gonna drop the barrel out. And pop our trigger guard out. Pins to the side. Alright, I'm gonna drop the trigger group. Alright, like the bolt. Come forward. And yeah, this is the action bar. This is the bolt engages right there to engage your lock and load. Okay. Set this to the side. Let's see if we can go ahead and get this trigger guard out without having to take the stock off. It's a little difficult, but it will come out. Let me cut that hammer. Tried. Okay, well, it ain't gonna work this time apparently. There we go. It's a little difficult. Went in a whole lot easier. Okay. So first thing you should notice is this is set up very similar, kind of a piss poor copy of Remington 870 trigger group. Got your piece through here, you got your carrier dog, carrier, hammer, got your D-clip on one side, and your pump release right here. Okay, that spring there, in my opinion, it works, but it's a little weak. Carrier drops down, moves up just fine. As far as your carrier dog, your punch and spring, all that works good. But here is the problem. Hold my finger here, I'm gonna pull the trigger. Look at the movement of your hammer. See that? This is a very strong spring, or supposed to be a very strong spring right here underneath this hammer plunger. And when I take and let off, it's not flying forward with the most pressure. And if I do it slowly, you can actually feel and you can see it binding in here. Now, I'm going to show you why. I'll do that. I need to disassemble this. Okay. I'll let that go flying, but it's okay. There's carrier dog spring right there for your plunger. Now I'm going to lift the carrier up and off. And now I've got to push this pin out right here. A smaller punch for this one. I'm not going to put that under pressure. I'll leave that down. Okay. And then all that pops off. So, here is your spring and plunger right here for your hammer. This is what puts all the pressure on your hammer and drives it forward. Well, as you notice, it's a pretty tight fit, and that spring is kinking down in the hole. And it's kind of hard to see. So we'll try to get this up. As you can see, you're gonna look down in here. Probably the lighting ain't gonna work on this camera, but when you compress this plunger and spring, the spring is actually kinking down below. So I'm going to pull this out. You notice I'm trying to pull it out or push it back in. It's difficult because unlike the Remington 870, which is well better made, the walls of this are plastic instead of aluminum. And they want to flex quite a bit. You can see right there, I can just take a little bit of pressure with my two fingers and I can squeeze those walls inward. Okay. And with everything assembled and the carrier on here, it squeezes it inward slightly. And because of that, it's putting pressure on this plunger where it rides in this little hole right here. In fact, watch how difficult it is to get this plunger back in here. I've actually got to bend that out and push. And you see right there, I'm having to pry that up and push it back down with a considerable amount of force. It's not moving freely like it should. And I just pushed that all the way down there. That's going to be difficult to get back out. Especially with it being asleep. There we go. Okay. Notice the spring is kinked because the spring only goes that far up inside your plunger. So each time it's compressing, this spring is bending, and the open hole at the bottom is bending left and right. And it's kinking up the spring, which is going to reduce your spring pressure. Now, There's no way to fix this with factory parts. The walls of this polymer right here are too thin to open the hole up anymore. And opening the hole up some more would only allow, this to move back and forth with less friction in that hole. It's like I said, it's tight. Just trying to get it to go back in there is kind of a royal pain. And once you finally get it opened up enough and get it started, it definitely is a lot of friction on your plunger, which you shouldn't have. You don't need a lot of friction on this plunger because it needs to be able to move freely, driven by the force of the spring power to push your hammer forward and give good primer ignition. So there is no fixing that with factory parts. Can't open this hole up any to reduce the friction because the walls of this polymer are so thin. If you try to open this hole any, it's going to thin those polymer walls down to the point they're probably going to break. So, the solution that I come up with, and I'm going to try, this is a Remington 870 hammer spring and a Remington 870 plunger. Notice the diameter of the Remington 870 plunger is a little bit smaller than this factory one from this Turkish manufacturer. A little bit smaller and considerably longer, so that more of the spring rides up inside of your plunger and keeps your spring straight, so when it's being compressed down in this hole, your spring isn't kinking to the left and the right and wind up bending and warping your spring up. Notice that moves freely in the trigger group in that hole, much more freely, the way it should. I'll take this crap out, and I'll have to reassemble all this, which is not an easy task, but it can be done. Again, the way this is designed makes it rather difficult to get this put back together the way it should be. So let me take that all together for right now. Go ahead and get my hammer started. I just need enough play right there that I can get this in. And no one said it's going to be easy. Okay, there we go. Got it started. Got it through. So now that I've got it, oh, it's too far forward. Let's drop that back off again. I'm going to have to probably compress this some. These pins are very loose in here, which don't help in matters any. There we go. Alright, so now I got the hammer contained. Go ahead and hopefully cock it back. Okay, so it's not wanting to cock all the way back because I believe the carrier, the plunger might be bottoming out all the way in the bottom of the hole right before the hammer can go back enough to actually engage, and it's literally probably about 10 thousandths. So hold this and drive this back out. So actually the plunger goes all the way to the bottom, and I can maneuver the hammer back enough without the spring in there that the hammer will lock. So it's not the plunger being too long. Okay. See how that just dropped right out? That's the way it should move in there. So the springs are about the same length. Actually, the Remington's a little bit shorter. So I know the spring length is not the issue, neither is the plunger length. So notice there's many more coils per inch, or not many more, but there's more coils per inch on the Remington spring than the factory spring. So that's what the issue is. It's not being able to compress completely, and it's compressing all the way completely and not compressing enough for this to all go down in the hole. So I'm going to take the factory spring. It's kinking, but I'm going to try it and see if I can get this to work. I can't use my forefinger very much because I was working on my truck the other day and trying to release a pressurized tab, and maybe to sprained the crap out of it, or actually fractured it, I'm not sure. And it's causing me a lot of pain, so I can't use it very much. Okay, there we go. Just drop that in there without it loosening up. Come on. Almost. By the time I get pin, there we go. Alright. So that is now locking up. And I'm getting very good hammer pressure. It actually hurts my thumb now when it hits instead of before. So all that is just coming from this ignorantly designed, oversized, and over shortened plunger right here. That was binding right here in this hole. Unfortunately, the Remington 870 spring is compressing too tightly. So it's not, once it's compressing so tight, it can't compress anymore. And it's been just long enough, about 6 thousandths too long, to where it's not allowing the hammer to lock up. But if you notice now, hear how grindy that sounds? I'm going to get close to the mic so you can hear it. I don't like that. Would it work? I would almost guarantee it will. Do I like that? No, I don't. It's noisy. It's grinding. That spring is actually catching on the end of this. So I'm going to pop this back out again. And what that's coming from, you see how tight that spring fits up inside that plunger? As it's compressing, the coils of the spring are rubbing against the edges of that plunger, and it's causing that noise because this spring is all kinked up and it's not straight. If it was straight, it probably wouldn't do it, maybe just a little bit, definitely not as bad. I don't like that as sub-quality work, in my opinion. It may work just fine, but eventually you're going to start getting some wear on the outer edges of these coils of the spring where it's rubbing against the steel plunger right here. So what I'm going to do to alleviate that is I'm going to come back here and I'm going to grind one end of this spring down about 1 coil. That should give me enough that I can compress it. So bear with me, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got about a coil off of that. Let's ground down nice and flat. And we're going to try this. I might have to grind a little bit more to get it right, but I don't want to take too much off at a time until I get it where it needs to be. There it went. Okay. Now we're locking up good. I got really good hammer pressure now. I love that. And it's not kinking up and binding up in the plunger as it goes back. Work right where we need to be. I like that. No complaints there. So now I'll put this on. Get it turned right. Okay. Alright. Now I gotta get this spring wound in there. This is a little difficult, but it ain't too bad. And grab. I can find it. There we go. Hold my finger over this. Turn it. There we go. Oh, still didn't get it quite right. Got to get it in that notch right here. And get that over there. So that's very weak spring pressure. I don't like it, but hey. Amazingly, it works somehow. Push that over a little bit. Now the carrier slides in between there. Over. There's post. So now I've got to get this down out of the way enough that I can get this in here. Put the spring and plunger in place. And this spring is a little flimsy in my opinion as well, but it does amazingly give good pressure. So, and if it works, it works. But because it is so flimsy, it does make getting all this together a pain. And just shoot it right into my face. If that spring was shorter and bigger, it wouldn't tend to flop all over the place like it does, but what we got. I'm probably going to end up popping this off on the other side before I get this in place like it needs to be, but if I do, we'll just put it back in. we go. Now I just got to get it lined up. Okay. There we go. And it doesn't matter which side that D-ring is on. It was on the other side, but as long as it's captured on one side or the other, it's fine. Okay, so now our carrier dog. Our carrier still moves up and down. Snaps back into place. That's working. And that's working. Alright, so now I'm going to try to get this back up in the shotgun. And you can see right here, we've got plenty firing pin protrusion. And that moves freely back and forth just fine. In fact, overall, I think the bolt design is pretty decent. It's got decent spring pressure on the extractor. It doesn't have the upgraded firing pin spring like the newer Remington 870 models, but it's pretty much a very close copy of the Remington 870 bolt. Works pretty much the same way. Seems to be solidly built. Everything moves back and forth. I think this notch for the lock and block could be a little bit better, a little bit deeper, but hey, that works. So I'm going to take and start this into the shotgun. And it does not install as well or as easily as a Remington 870, but with a little bit of finagling, it will finally go. Okay. This pin is very loose, so it should get them past that little catch. You can just about push them in with a very minimal spring pressure, rather finger pressure. Okay. Start this assembly into the gun. Everything locked back. Put the barrel back on. Slide release. So we lock the bolt back. Get that started. Oh God. I just found another major problem. I'm glad I seen that. Alright, I'm gonna pull all this back out. I'm gonna show you this. Now, I'm not saying all Turkish shotguns are made like crap. There's a few manufacturers out there that make some decent guns. But overall, I have been tremendously disappointed with the quality of most Turkish shotguns. This GForce obviously is no exception. So check this out. Try to get this in frame. This is my hand pressure. Look at that. I can literally twist this barrel lock off with my hand. Or extension, whatever you want to call it. It's just coming right out. Not tight at all. You think that could cause some headspace problems? Yeah, absolutely. And I've disassembled this gun twice before I even caught on to that. There is no way on God's green earth you should be able to unscrew that with hand pressure. When I was putting the barrel in and just went to turn the barrel like that, I seen it turning. That is beyond ridiculous. Very dangerous. So I'm going to have to lock this in a vise after I clean all these threads up really well. I'll lock this in a vise and get this tightened down, and I've got to clock it to where this lines up with the magazine tube and this lines up in the receiver properly, and try to get it good and tight. And I'm actually going to Loctite this down with red Loctite. Wish I had some green. I don't. Heck, I may order some before I put this back together, because it's a little bit stronger than the red. Because you don't want this coming loose. That's crazy. But that being aside, I think we're going to have very good primer ignition now that I've got this Remington 870. That's about lock up right there. And I got a good hit on that. Oh yeah. Got really good pressure hitting on that firing pin now. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have our issue resolved with that. Now I'm going to have to fix the barrel and get that straightened out so we can get this shotgun put back together and it actually be safe. So yeah, I strongly advise you not to waste a couple $100 on a cheap GForce shotgun. If you do, that's on you. But I've just pointed out 3 major design flaws between the design and inferior parts and inferior assembly. There's no reason this should ever just twist off with minimal effort from your hands. So if you buy one of these are the issues you're going to run into. If this is all you can afford, save your money up. Wait a few months. Add you a few $100s to it. And go get you a Mossberg 500, Mossberg 590, Remington 870. Heck, get a Maverick 88. It's made by Mossberg, and while they're probably not quite as good of a quality as the Mossberg 500, they're 10 times better than this. There's just no excuse for this. Anyway, I'm not going to film all this repair. This is going to take some time and some effort, and a lot of it's going to have to be off camera. So I'm going to get this straightened out and get this gun put back together, and I'm 100% confident that when I go to test fire it, that on the light primer strike issue is going to be resolved. And this useless junk of parts right here is just going to be tossed. No point in even trying to salvage it to use for anything else. If you're having problems with your shotgun, your GForce shotgun, I hope this helps. And we'll show you what you might have to do to correct it. And as far as the pump moving so far back and forward, when the gun is locked up, again, if you pull back just a little bit on it, it moves back enough that the action bar interferes with the hammer, and the hammer hits it instead of hitting the firing pin. The only thing you can do for that, the way it's designed, is to make sure when you shoot it, you're putting forward pressure on your fore-end. As long as you're putting forward pressure on your fore-end, you'll get good primer ignition. The action bar will be far enough forward that it won't interfere with your bolt and your firing pin. But if you're trying to shoot it rapidly, or you're not paying attention, and you like try to pull the gun back into your shoulder by the fore-end, that fore-end's got to move back enough that the firing pin is not going to hit, the hammer's not going to hit the firing pin. It's going to hit the rear of the action bar, which is going to stop it from hitting your firing pin. There's no remedy for that. As you can see, when the bolt is all the way back, you won't have that issue. But when you're, wait a minute, might be wrong on that. When the shotgun is locked up, let me just take this off for you. When the shotgun is locked up all the way, your lug's going to be up right here. Your locking lug's going to be up. And that locks it into this notch right here. Okay. So when everything is together, as it should be, there's your cutout for your extractor. That locking block right there is supposed to move up so it locks. And you see how it's, well, I've got to keep a little bit of pressure on it, but you see how that's locked in place and the bolt can't come back? That means your shotgun's in full lockup. Okay. Then when it's fired and you engage the action bar, that lug drops down and allows this to slide rearward. And you got a bump out right here with a recess right here, and that's where your bolt slides. Right in that recess. See how that index is right there. Okay. So when everything's locked up, your 4-inch pump forward, this should lock all the way up. Alright, when that is locked all the way up, your bolt should be all the way to the rear, and that action bar should not interfere with the firing pin. So what that tells me is this is loose and is out of timing. And what's happening is, when the shotgun's locking up, this bolt is moving forward enough, because this was out of whack. The bolt's moving forward enough that it's pushing the bolt forward on the action bar about this far. So the hammer's hitting right here instead of hitting here. Okay? Should be like that. You see, when it moves forward, the locking lug drops down. That's what unlocks it from your locking lug recess right here. When this is back, this moves up, engages with your locking lug recess right here, and the action bar is out of the way of the firing pin. So that issue is not exactly a design flaw, although it still pertains to it. That issue is because this is not timed properly on the barrel and with the receiver, and therefore it was enabling the shotgun to still lock up, but it was locking up further forward and causing the rear of the action bar right there to stick out to the rear further than the firing pin, so the hammer hits this instead of the firing pin. So it's going to take a little bit of work and some time to get this just right, and I'll have to do a lot of this off camera, so I'm not going to show it, but something you might want to watch out for. I hope you found this episode useful. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. And share it with your buddies if they got any of these guns you're familiar with. Share it with them. It might help them out, and it helps give my channel more exposure, so I can keep producing content. And I'll be doing another video shortly. Actually, I'll probably get it done tomorrow, and I'll get it uploaded as quickly as possible. And I'm going to show you how to drill and tap and install a sight bead on a vent rib shotgun barrel. So that video will be coming out shortly after this one. And once I get this fixed, and depending on exactly how in depth this winds up being, how much time it takes before I get this right. But look forward to that video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel, and y'all have a great day. Alright, quick update on this GForce. I wanted to show you guys this. Something else I found when I was studying this and looking at everything, how the parts fit together. There's no freaking wonder the action bar was interfering, and I'm going to show you why. So, guess you would call this the barrel extension. I'm not sure what it's called in the shotgun. On the AR-15 it would be your barrel extension. Cleaned up the threads in here and everything, and got to looking at how it fit in here, and I noticed it was going to about right there, and that's as far as it would go in, because from the manufacturer this was too wide to fit into that notch right there where it's supposed to fit into, which enables this to slide all the way rearward in the gun. So it was sitting even that far back. It was sitting about right there, which left that big gap. And I'm going to get where you can make sure you see this. Let me turn it over that way. Okay, right there. You see the gap between the back of that silver part and the shelf? Can you see the gap right here, hopefully? Yeah, see the gap in there? Where this notch is probably all the way back. I had to take a file on each side and file a couple thousandths off to where that'll go back and index like it's supposed to. There is absolutely, I'm trying to hold this where you can see it. It's kind of dark down. I'm going to back it out right here. There we go. Hopefully now you can see where it goes all the way back. So now when I screw this back onto the barrel, again, this is a tight and locked in place like it should be, but now the barrel extension fits flush below the receiver. This comes all the way back and locks against the shelf in the receiver like it's supposed to. And when I actually put the bolt and the action bar back on and put this in, to get it where it'll actually go. Find that notch. This is turning on me. And it turned too much. Without this being tight like it should be, it's kind of hard to get this all together where it goes all the way down like it's supposed to. Still got to turn it a little bit more. Just about got it. There we go. Okay, so now that's locked in place like it should be. Put my magazine cap on here. And the magazine cap, actually, you can tighten it on down now. Really nice like it should be. And now, once I get this tightened up, the barrel will be tighter. But now, everything's locked up as it should be. Notice, you don't have a big freaking gap behind your bolt right here. Okay, there's no bolt, no gap in the bolt. Now this isn't going to lock up and stay locked up because I don't have a trigger grip in. But, if you notice right there, that is forward, the back of that bar is forward of the firing pin, okay? Until it unlocks. Alright, now you can see hopefully down in here, sorry, my head's in the way of the camera. Hopefully you can see down there now where that notch is locked all the way back, and this is riding on that shelf like it's supposed to. Okay, so now when I put the trigger group in there, we shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. This is kind of a pain to work down in here, but I got it to snap right in while I go with no issues. There we go. Alright. So now I'm going to put our trigger grip in. I can't see if my hole's lined up or not. It's not. That's pretty close. No, it ain't. There we go. Okay. Alright, so that trigger group's in there. The gun's locked up. We don't have that play in the forend that will interfere with our hammer. Got another issue. Bolt's not wanting to come quite all the way back. Something's out of whack in the trigger group. Or with the alignment of the barrel. It shouldn't be the alignment of the barrel. Something's out of whack in here. I had to figure that out. Something probably moved when I was putting the trigger group back in, so the bolt's not coming all the way white to the rear like it should. But you see, we're locking up. The bolt takes up the entire space of the ejection port, just like it should. Okay. There's no reason that gun should let the factory with that barrel extension not able to sit in that recess and being shoved that far forward. I mean, the barrel extension was sitting out of the front of the receiver, and the barrel was being pushed forward because of it. Now I'm gonna have to go back in here and take it apart and figure out exactly what's interfering with the bolt going all the way back, but that shouldn't be too big of an issue. But I wanted to show you what I found there. I was astonished when I realized that extension's not even going back the way it should be. Again, thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day.